Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm going to be talking about the new movie Parasite. So, this is going to be primarily a spoiler talk. I will review it without any spoilers real quick at the beginning, but this plot is pretty interesting, and it's going to be hard to talk about too much of this film without getting into spoilers. In case you don't know what Parasite is, it's a story about a family in South Korea that is down on their luck. They're living in the slums. They're as broke as you can be while still maintaining a household, kind of. They're living in like a basement home type situation. And the main character is approached by his friend who asks him to take his job as a tutor for this rich family's teenage girl who is needing to be tutored in English. So he takes this job pretending that he is in college, pretending he has an education. He takes this job and then helps by finagling his way through things get the rest of his family jobs at that house as well. Father as a driver, his sister as an art teacher, and his mother as the new housekeeper. So right off the bat, this movie is not predictable. This is one of the most original movies I've seen in years. It's very original, very different, very interesting, but at the same time, it's also kind of feels like they didn't have a completely formed plan going into it, maybe. I'm not saying that's the case, but it kind of feels like that. And that's actually the quote of the dad in this movie, as he says, the best plan is to not have a plan, because all plans go awry. So if you don't have a plan, your plan can't be ruined. And it kind of feels like that's how the filmmaker went into this movie. When he was writing it, he kind of didn't have a completely formed plan and let the script write itself, because it's kind of like every event leads to the next event. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. This movie was very entertaining and very original and very interesting and different. There's a lot of great comedy aspects to it. There's a lot of tense moments in it where they think that they're going to get caught and different things like that. The pacing of this movie is very interesting, and it keeps you interested. I keep using the word interesting for a reason. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, or if you're in a recliner, at the back of your seat, but regardless, it keeps you in tune with what's going on at all times. It's unlike most movies you will see today. I was curious why so many people were talking about it. I hadn't really heard anything about it. I didn't know what it was, but I kept seeing everybody was talking about it. So I had to go see it. Got a matinee viewing and watched it by myself, and it was really good. I don't want to say it's a great film. I think a lot of people, when these little films that people, it's not getting this widespread attention like a Marvel movie would or a Disney movie would, these people want to say that these really good small movies are great movies and they're movie of the year. This isn't gonna be the movie of the year, but it was a solid film. There was some really good directing moments, some really good camera work. Like I said, the pacing of it was really well done in a way that kept you interested at all times. The acting was pretty solid. There were some weak points to it, but it was for the most part pretty good. I will say that the whole movie, though, for the most part, is in Korean, though, so if you're not the kind of person that enjoys reading your movies, you might not get into it. But I don't care about that. I enjoyed it. I have subtitles on all the time anyway. I enjoyed a lot of the character chemistry. I will say that probably the mom is the weakest of the family, not in acting, but in her character development. I don't think we ever really get to know her at all. We get to know the son, we get to know the daughter, we get to know the dad all pretty well, but we never really get to understand the mom very well, or her angle on things for the most part. Like, we hear her talking about her opinions of the rich people, and then she's kind of a hypocrite in how she then treats other poor people, and maybe that's supposed to be a statement, and I think it was, but beyond that, we don't really get much insight into her character. It was more of a plot point than it was character development, I guess. I don't know that her character was the best written, but everybody else, I found the whole cast to be very interesting. There's that word again. When it needed to be funny, it was. When it needed to be tense, it was. When it needed to be quick, it was. And when it needed to be slow, it was. It took every moment very well. If I was going to relate this to any movie I've reviewed in the past, it would remind me most of Sorry to Bother You. Don't take that too seriously. Don't read too much into that. It's a completely different kind of movie, but it had very similar feel to it in the way that it was making a statement with what it was saying, and how one event leads to another, and it's completely unpredictable. Did remind me a lot of Sorry to Bother You. There's nothing nearly as crazy as Sorry to Bother You in this, though. I don't want to mislead you. It's not like that. But so that's the spoiler-free version of this review. I'm sorry, I can't say too much because this plot does go a lot farther than you think it will. You think it's just gonna be one of those movies where it's like about a con artist getting money out of a situation, and it is that, but there's a lot more to it than that you won't necessarily see in the trailers. I didn't see a trailer. I don't know how much they actually give away in trailers and stuff like that, but I think the less you know about this movie, the more you'll be entertained by it. Yeah, I liked it. Not trying to say it's the best movie of the year. I saw on the poster it said it was one of the best movies of the decade. I definitely wouldn't go that far. Not that the 2010s have been an especially strong decade for film. This isn't going to, you know, change your life, but it was a solid film and completely original. I don't want to downplay that at all. I have not seen any other movie that really is quite like this, and that's rare these days. It's really rare when you're seeing just every movie is some sort of copy of something else. This wasn't a copy of anything I've ever seen, so I don't know. I enjoyed it, and you guys might too. Just don't expect it to be a pretty basic, you know, straightforward movie. There's twists and turns in here, and that makes it enjoyable, but it's not exactly what you're going to expect from it. So that's what I had to say about it, spoiler free. Now I'm going to get into the spoilers, so if you don't want anything spoiled, then click away now, but please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks. So, getting into the spoilers with this, I'm not sure how I feel about the actual plot of this movie, because when it started out, it was going through just the regular humdrum, and it was kind of boring. And then all this crazy stuff starts happening. So it turns out that there's people living in the basement, and then they're trying to kill the owners of the house, and then the other people end up killing the owner of the house, and then we're in hiding, and it was such a trip. But at the same time, like, I don't know that I enjoyed that story. I was completely surprised by it. I don't know that I enjoyed it, though. It was very interesting, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was good. So it's hard for me to exactly say how I feel about the movie. If I had to give a rating for it now, I'd be in the area of a 7, but it's hard to exactly pinpoint or gauge how I feel about this movie. Like I said earlier, the acting was all pretty good. The directing had really good moments in it, and it was a very interesting film, but I'm not entirely sure that it was a complete film. It did really feel like it was just like the writers were like, alright, so I've got this plot. Man, this doesn't fill up a full runtime. What can I do now? People living in the basement. Alright, well, where does that lead to? Well, they go crazy. Oh, well, now we killed them. Oh, well, now we're killing them. Oh, okay, well, now I guess we have to hide. Where should we hide? Oh, in the basement. And it's like almost like a Stephen King type story where it's like, you had a good thing going, why did you switch it up? But the thing that you switched it to, it wasn't necessarily bad either. I just wouldn't have thought to go that way. But hey, you know what? He's a professional writer and I'm not, so good for him for coming up with something original. And it was interesting looking at the commentary of this film, because you've got this scene in the movie before you know anything's gonna happen. You're just thinking, alright, now the rest of the movie is them getting caught, and then something's gonna happen, and then they're gonna have to try and get back in good with the other family after getting caught, and they find out that they're all lying. That's where you're thinking this type of film would normally go. There's a scene where the whole family is there because the rich family's away for vacation, so the poor family is sleeping at their house, drinking all their alcohol, eating all their food, and you're just sitting there immensely tense. Like, I'm on edge going like, this scene is going too well, something is going to go wrong, but you're thinking something's going to go wrong, like they're going to get caught. You're like, this is where the third act starts, where they get caught, and we're going to have to go through all of this typical stuff, and then the fourth act is when stuff will get back to being good again, hopefully. And then no, the old housekeeper shows up, and immediately you're like, something's off with this situation. What's going on? And then she asks to go to the basement because she left something there. And then she goes to the basement, and you wait tensely because you don't want to follow her down, so they don't follow her down because, like, oh, she's gonna try and kill them or something. No, turns out that there's a secret bunker underneath the basement where her husband has been hiding for the past 4+ years, and he hasn't eaten since she got fired. So she sneaks down and gives him food, and then they start pleading with the new family that works there now. Just let us live here. Give us food. We can't go out there. We have too many debts. People are after us. Just let us live here and give us food once, twice a week, and we'll be fine. This is right after the mom had said, the rich people are so nice because they're rich. If I had money, I'd be nice too. And now they're in an opportunity where they can help benefit somebody else who's even less advantaged than them, and they immediately say no. She tries to call the police. She tries to kick him out, but then the upper hand gets switched to the other duo as they have footage of the rest of the family calling each other by their real names and their relations to each other, whether it's father, son, brother, sister, whatever it is. And so now they've got blackmail, and so then it becomes a feud between the two, and it's like all this could have been solved if the family was just smarter or kinder or had decided to work with them. The movie would have been over. But because they were selfish, then all of the rest of the crap that happens in this movie happens, such as the daughter ends up dying, and then the dad of the rich family dies, and then they move away, and then the whole thing gets thrown out of sorts, and they're back to being poor again. So I get that that's commentary. I get that's like, don't be a hypocrite. It's a pretty basic standard parable of like, hey, don't judge the people that are, you know, you could be in their same shoes. You have been in their same shoes, so, you know, treat them well. Just because you're more advantaged at that moment don't mean that you take it out on other people. So it was a pretty basic idea, and you're frustrated with these characters for not learning from it, but at the same time it doesn't stay on this lesson very long because it just moves right along with the plot. They end up getting into a fight, and then they lock them in the basement. They accidentally kill the wife by kicking her down the stairs, and she hits her head and dies. And then this causes the husband to go into a rage. He ends up breaking free, gets a knife from the kitchen, and starts stabbing people. He stabs the daughter, he cuts the mom, he kills this, or you think he kills the son. He hits him in the head with a rock. I don't know how he survived, but he got brain surgery and is fine somehow. Then the mom kills him, and then the dad kills the rich dad, and then has to go in hiding and hides in the basement. Then you skip ahead a little bit. The son has had brain surgery. The mom is, I don't know, fine. The other family's moved away, and a new family's moved in, and so the dad who's hiding in the bunker has to sneak out and steal food from them whenever he can. And he ends up contacting the son through Morse code, who then writes back and lets him know, I'm going to get rich, and I'm going to buy that house, and I will let you out one day. And then that's the end. That's interesting. It's bizarre, but it's interesting. So, I don't know, like, I liked it, I didn't love it. And I understand now why everybody's talking about it. There's a lot to talk about because, wow, nobody expected any of that, I don't think. And what it also reminded me of, and I didn't see this movie because the trailer showed too much, and it would have been a really interesting idea if the trailer didn't give everything away, was I remember a few years back seeing a trailer for, I think James Franco was in this movie. Let me look it up. Yeah, it's called The Vault. It's starring James Franco, Scott Hayes, Taryn Manning, Francesca Eastwood, and it's directed and written by Dan Bush. And it's about a bank robbery, but then they go into the bank, and then there's this big reveal of like, oh, it's not a normal bank. There's some shenanigans going on. And I was really interested in this idea, but the trailer gave everything away, and I don't know why they did that. And like I said, I didn't see the trailer for this, but I don't think that they gave that away in the trailer. Maybe they did and I missed it, luckily. But having this idea and then not telling anybody is really good. It's also really dangerous because then you might piss off a lot of people when the story is nothing like what they're expecting. But for the people like me, or I think movie critics in general, they're happy they're really happy when you do something they're not expecting or we're not expecting, because fooling critics isn't the easiest thing to do, because we watch a lot of movies and it's not like we're so much smarter than everybody else when it comes to movies. It's the fact that we watch so many, so we pick up on these patterns. And so when you avoid the patterns and you come up with something brand new and original, or something that fools us or tricks us, that's good and that's impressive. And so I will give this movie props for that. I don't know, however, that I love this story. It's good, not great is the best way I can put it, but I'm just impressed of how original it is. And I know that this is a story that's going to be stuck in my head for a while. It might not have been a perfect execution, but I really did enjoy the story, and I'm going to be thinking about it for a while. And that's ultimately what, film is about. It's to make you think, it's to make you remember this idea, and I will for a while. This will be stuck in my head I at least a couple of weeks, as I'm going to be mulling over this, wishing that I had seen it with somebody else so I could talk to them about it. I'm just going to have to try and get people to see it, and then I can talk to them about it, or I can talk to you guys. So I don't know. If you've seen it, we can talk about it. It's a very interesting story, kind of like Lighthouse, where it's like, I didn't love Lighthouse, but I wanted to talk about it immediately after seeing it. And that's how this movie is. I ranked them about the same, honestly. But yeah, so that's what I thought. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're new here. Thanks, guys. Bye.